horse has already bolted, so it's time to corral all the mares. Our community needs some form of protection from leading Brumbies, snorts and stares.
Let the rain fall on this great nation, catch it in the reservoir we built. Leave the door open, let it run down to the shore. Don't nobody farm here anymore. The Aussie dollar's gone through the ceiling, export prices falling through the floor. Those bureaucrats have lifted bloody interest rates again. Don't nobody care here anymore. So who gives a stuff about the farmer? Who cares about our rural towns? Who wants meat and milk on their table? No worries, buy it from a foreign land. Brumby wants our water for the city. Flush it down their toilet, what a pity. We've got to stop the pipeline, don't let us work in vain. It ain't the North's fault that it might rain.
There are other solutions for Melbourne, Mr. Brumby. Please start to listen and don't put the future of a lot of people in this state at risk. The other impact of it is also, this is environmental vandalism, this proposal. The Murray-Darling Basin is in crisis, for heaven's sakes. Wait till all the proper studies are done on that, on the sustainable needs of that, before taking a gigantic swathe of water out of that system.
Cross all flank around me, then I'll read this out, and then I'll go down each of the group and ask you all to speak for a minute. All right? Mike, see it? All right, let's go. Okay. Ready to go? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming along today. I've been asked to make a statement on behalf of the groups that surround me here today. This joint media release, from its upstream sources right down to the sea, Victoria's water is under siege. Decisions being taken by the Brumby government reflect a backlog of inadequate future planning and a steamrolling agenda of so-called progress, which caters to the demands of the influential at the expense of the environment, the community and the wishes of the people. Brumby is not listening to community representative groups. This is democracy being ignored. The strong cohesion of water-related groups from urban and regional Victoria has come together to voice their opposition to Victorian government policies. We are uniting to show our government that we have issues that are not being addressed by our own representatives. We have come together today to speak with one voice about the nature of the government in Victoria. We are not necessarily advocates of each other's causes. However, we can agree on two things. Firstly, the Brumby government has stopped listening to the people of Victoria. Two, as representatives of individual groups, we believe that the policies and infrastructure projects related to our causes will be highly damaging to the environment and that we have not been treated fairly by the government of the day. Thank you.
My name's Ken Patterson. Thank you all for coming today. We appreciate you coming and coming to listen to us. Thank you everybody coming to join together to demonstrate that we have issues with the government and the way the government process is going. In our case, Northern Victoria and the Eildon Reservoir is drying. We have a drying catchment. We have the Murray-Darling Basin under crisis through global warming and climate change. We see it as just a crazy proposal to take water from a drying catchment, to take water from the Murray River. They've promised 170 GLs to go back to the Murray and the Snowy, and yet they're bringing the water back to this side of the divide. We believe Melbourne has a lot of other options. It's not for us to put up those options for you. They are there, they are more environmentally friendly, they are more sustainable, and why would you take water away from the very places, the very communities that are feeding Melbourne with clean, healthy produce and wish to continue to do so? We want to work together with Melbourne, we want to work with the government to come up with better solutions, and as a water user we are improving our efficiency, we are improving everything we do. We would not stay on the land if we weren't improving the way we do things. So we want to work with the Melbourne people, we don't want to fight the Melbourne people. We believe the Melbourne people are entitled to security of water, but let's work, let's have the government inquiry look into the future of Melbourne's water needs. That inquiry is stalled because the Brumby government will not give it any funds to start its work. So thank you everybody for coming today, thank you for all the groups, and we are here for the long haul. This proposal is environmentally disastrous for the Yea River Valley and the state forest where it's going to go through. The greenhouse gas emissions, that the energy required to pump this water across the divide is absolutely horrific. And this will go on forever. This will be a charge against the Melbourne people. We will be doing Melbourne one of the biggest favours we can ever do when we are successful in stopping this crazy pipe proposal. The fact that they say that some of our people in the Goulburn Valley recommended this to the government, they were unelected, they did not consult with us, we had no knowledge of it, and as far as I'm concerned, they are rats in our ranks. Thank you very much.
And what's the common theme that binds everybody? John Brumby says Labor's governing for all Victorians. It's an urban myth, ladies and gentlemen. It's an urban myth. Today he's going to make his State of the Union address, and he's going to say lots of things about the intention of his government over the course of this 12 months and what they propose to do. When you look at their track record, who would believe him, ladies and gentlemen? Who would believe him? And that's the legitimate question to be put, arising out of what he's doing today and what brings all of you here today. Remember the promise never to pipe water from north of the divide into Melbourne? Remember that was made back in November 2006, and now we've got what we've got. And I don't see too many quasi-terrorists around me here today, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what the Water Minister says you are. That's what the Water Minister has called you in the floor of that Parliament. That's what he's described you as. I don't see this as a gathering of malcontents and people who are otherwise causing problems for the law. Rather, it's a gathering of people who justifiably have come together on the steps of what is the most public forum in this state to make sure they send the message to Mr Brumby. There ought to be a proper process for dealing with these things, and you've made an absolute mockery of it. The desalination folk who are here today, remember that this government was never going to be involved in it. Remember those statements that were made, and now we've got the process that Mr Brumby and before him Mr Brax engaged in, where they went down there and announced it and then said they would have the consultation. And that's a feature of the way that they've chosen to do business over the years they've been the government. I congratulate you for coming here today, because certainly in the sense of the water-related issues in all their many forms, the fact of the matter is, over in country Victoria, we're actually using that water to grow products for the good of this state, to make sure that we feed people, not only in the country environments, but in here in Melbourne as well. The government should be supporting that principle. To the extent they're putting money into the improvements in the food bowl, of course we support that. But taking water away from country Victoria is diminishing one of the last great competitive edges that we as a state and that we as a nation have, and the government should be ashamed of itself. And finally, let me say, for those who are concerned about the dredging of the bay, we support the Liberal Party's private members' bill about the environmental aspects that need to be undertaken in relation to that issue. And do you mind, umpire, how can Mr Brumby use such intemperate language in relation to the South Australians in the context that he did, when at least whatever might be said about the Bay project, and whether you agree with it or whether you don't, what the South Australians have done is get on and do it. Mr Brumby's made a botch of it from start to finish, and it continues to this day.
Leave the door open, let it run down to the shore. Don't nobody farm here anymore.